Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Saurabh. Today we are going to see how to register an HDP cluster in DataPlane. Our agenda for today is a short introduction to DataPlane, the prerequisites you need to register your HDP cluster in DataPlane. Then we will go on to configure the Knox authentication, and finally we will register the cluster in DataPlane. DataPlane is a unified platform to register, access, and monitor multiple on-premise and cloud clusters. So it enables you to monitor the cluster health, the number of nodes in the cluster, the services installed in the cluster, and so on. You can integrate your DataPlane platform with LDAP users so that users from the centralized Active Directory can manage your DataPlane. DataPlane is also a unified platform for several applications such as DLM, DSS, and SMM. So this is my DataPlane cluster, which consists of the DataPlane Lifecycle Manager and the Data Steward Studio. So currently I have a cluster registered in my DataPlane, and in the users, I can manage all the users that are integrated from the LDAP Active Directory. Here I have logged in as the user Steve, who is the DataPlane admin. So here are the prerequisites we need before we try to register the Ambari cluster in your DataPlane. The DataPlane host should be integrated with LDAP or AD, whichever is your centralized Active Directory. So these are the LDAP details of my DataPlane host. I will now log out and demonstrate how to log in as the LDAP user. So I just logged into DataPlane as the user Steve. Next, let's check out my HDP cluster. So I've just entered the Ambari URL. So my cluster name is C1232 and I have these services installed in my cluster. Ensure that your HDP cluster is accessible from DataPlane, and next up, your HDP cluster has Knox installed, and also the Ambari is integrated with Knox SSO. So I will just try to open an incognito window and try to access the Ambari. I just entered the Ambari URL and this should redirect me to the Knox welcome page. So Knox has successfully logged me into my Ambari cluster. And finally, please ensure that the DataPlane admin user is also the admin in Ambari. So here is my Steve user, who is also the Ambari admin and is integrated from the LDAP Active Directory. Let's move on. We will now configure Knox authentication in order to register the HDP cluster in the data plane. So let's fetch the data plane certificate from the data plane host. So I have gathered some details prior to this video. Here is the data plane public key. I will now show you how to fetch the same. So this is the certificate which public key cert which we need, and just make sure you do not include the begin and end certificate lines. So I have the certificate copied here. Next we will configure the Knox SSO for data plane. So we will refer this document in order to establish connectivity between the Knox host in your HTTP cluster and the data plane host. So we just copied the certificate from the data plane host, and now we will proceed with creation of these three topology files. I will now log in to the Knox host in my HTTP cluster. Let's go to etc Knox conf topologies and create a token.xml file. Going back to the document, we will copy the contents of the token.xml and just edit the correct details before we enter it into the topology file. So you have to enter the Knox host name, fully qualified domain name over here. I'll get it from here, and we need to edit it in here as well. And finally we'll add the public key from the data plane host. So our token.xml file is ready, and I will go ahead and create it in my Knox host. Uh, so the redirect token topology file is a carbon copy of the token.xml. So let's create the redirect token.xml file. And next up, we will create the redirect.xml file once again. Let's create and edit the file. So I must add the domain name of my cluster in the whitelist regular expression. So we have now successfully configured Knox SSO for DataPlane. In the next step, we will configure the Knox gateway for DataPlane. So this is the document we will use to configure the dpproxy.xml file, which will redirect us to Ambari via Knox gateway proxy. So let's get the contents of the dpproxy.xml and edit them here. So you need to add the Knox host once again. The Ambari URLs. So I do not want to register other services via DP proxy, so I will just comment out this piece of code. Let's copy the contents and create the file now. So we have successfully created token.xml, redirect token.xml, redirect.xml, and dbproxy.xml files. So let's take a look if these topologies are deployed successfully by Knox or not. So here we can see all the directories for the respective topology files, and we can now just ensure that Ambari is accessible through the DP proxy URL. So I'm trying to access my Ambari from the DP proxy topology file. Okay, so we have successfully been redirected to the Knox SSO page. And I can log in as the Steve user. If you look at the address bar, I have accessed Ambari using the DP proxy topology file. We will now log into the DataPlane UI and attempt to register the HDP cluster. So my Ambari and cluster services are behind Knox Gateway. So this is my Knox host. The DP proxy topology we just created few moments earlier. Now we will enter relevant data for the cluster, such as the location. I will pick Mumbai for the new cluster and India as the data center. As you can see, I have successfully registered my HDP cluster in DataPlane, so I can access all the relevant information from here. Services installed, name node heap, HDFS disk space remaining, and other details. Thank you for watching the video.